there was no part of me that was hesitant not to tell this story. Every part of me just said, right, that's it. This is the story. This is what I'm doing. It's happening. And it was amazing how many people came together and just wanted to help. So we're talking about computer gaming, and it doesn't shine it in a negative light. It almost shines it in a light where it shows that this can help people in certain ways, and it also has a community to it as well. Without the team, this would not be possible, and everybody's support, it wouldn't be possible. If it's made well and it's done right, it's really good. But it can also be the opposite.
We are back today with Erin Gavin, the writer, producer, and director of short film Gaming for Love. Erin, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. This is brilliant, Joe. Thank you. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. I'm looking forward to learning more about you and sharing your message with the audience today. So now with that said, you direct, you produce, you wrote this, and it's a very powerful short film, Gaming for Love. What's the most important message you want to share with our audience today?
So for me, the reason I wanted to tell this story, because it's loosely based on true events, was I felt this wave of emotion come over me when I was reading this article, and I thought, what amazing, powerful, real, loving story, and I just felt compelled to tell it. And from that thought to where we are today feels like, absolutely incredible. So I'm very grateful.
That's outstanding. You've done a lot of prolific work, both in front of the camera and behind the camera, on stage, on screen, with music. You touched on this a second ago, but what inspires you to choose this project next for you?
This project felt, and other filmmakers will probably relate to this, but it just felt right. There was no part of me that was hesitant not to tell this story. Every part of me just said, right, that's it. This is the story. This is what I'm doing. It's happening. And that was really it. There was no ifs, buts, maybes about it.
It's very courageous. We often hear so much glamour about Hollywood, but behind the scenes, the production itself isn't always so easy. So without giving away any plots or any spoilers, what was one of the biggest challenges of your production, and how did you solve that challenge?
Well, yes. One was the budget. So in order to make a movie, as we know, we need money. So I literally sort of felt, right, I need to ask for help here, which is something I'm not very good at doing, in terms of asking people to put together a GoFundMe and let's do this. And that was a challenge for me to kind of swallow my pride and be like, right, I need help. So, and it was amazing how many people came together and just wanted to help. It was just, it honestly made me well up and just feel so appreciative of everybody and everyone's support. The other challenge was to get crew together. So I was really lucky. I partnered with a company called Up Next Studios, and we had a lot of help. Like, people were just coming on board and helping. But naturally, that sometimes people fall off, and then you have to get somebody else in, and that can be challenging in the finer days, when someone drops out 2 days before shooting and you're like, oh. So I didn't have too much of that, but it worked out in the end, and who was meant to be on that movie was on that movie.
That's a great way of thinking about it. Just to kind of detail that out a little bit more, location-wise, where on the globe were we shooting?
Oh, so it was all shot in Scotland. And it was, so I wrote it in, let's see, I wrote it about this, I think it was the second week in January. And we had the first cut by, I think it was like end of February. And so it was really rushed, really quick, and really intense. And so we had to find locations really quick, and we had to really narrow down those locations. And I was in Scotland, so it made sense to just let's roll. So I was really lucky with the locations. I had friends just pull in together and be like, "You can shoot here!" Woo-hoo. So it all worked out really well.
Outstanding. And how many days of production?
3 days.
3 days. Okay, so 3 days in Scotland. You shot about a month and a half after you wrote it. Is that more or less right?
So after I wrote it, I had about, let's say, about 3 to 4 weeks
Okay.
to pull all the crew together, locations together, everything together. It was intense. And then 3 days of shooting and then editing and obviously like the final cuts and then putting the music together. But I'm really thankful for the team, like the without the team, this would not be possible. And everybody's support, it wouldn't be possible.
So just going a little deeper on what you just said a second ago, two things to think about. Number one, a lot of the people that are watching this interview right now have never been on a production set. The closest they've been is the movie theater. And
Yeah.
now the second thing to that is how many people out there have also they've certainly written something, but they may not have the courage or the audacity to actually get out there and shoot it. Or as you brought up, to go out there and ask for money, raise money, because it costs money to do these things. Do you have any advice, inspiration, hope for someone out there who wants to be doing what you just accomplished and they're scared, hesitant, or they're nervously excited?
I think you have to be very vulnerable, and I think you have to put ego aside and let people read your script, polish it, get advice on it, make sure it's as solid as it can be, and that's hard to do when you pour your heart into this piece, and these like obviously this piece of paper has everything that you've just poured out onto it, and then to give that to someone to be super critical is really hard, but that's the first step. Make sure it's as good as it can be. And I would say community is key. So perhaps maybe look at how you can narrow it down budget wise. So that's your locations, that's everything that costs money really, and ask for help, build that community, go to your local drama schools, go to your local film schools. People want to film, people in the creative world, they want to be doing something, so people do want to help. And that's what I would say. Home in your community, ask for help, get the script solid. That would be the first two key things to be doing. And don't forget GoFundMe. It's handy for sure.
I love that. It's good advice. We're with Erin Gavin, the writer, producer, and director of Gaming for Love, a short film. Now, as you just heard, the title Gaming for Love, gaming is a big theme of the story. Erin, at this moment, I'd love to believe everybody in the world knows what gaming means, but just in case, can you tell us what gaming means and what message do you hope the gaming community receives when they see this short film?
Oh, that's a really good question. I actually spoke to somebody last night who's in the gaming world, and I told him the story, and he said, I'm a huge part of the gaming world in terms of he works for all the major companies and does all the software and runs computer programming in terms of like the creative side of things. And he said, I think they would love this story because um, gaming itself, we're talking about computer gaming. Okay, so for those guys, what do you mean by gaming? So we're talking about computer gaming, and it doesn't shine it in a negative light. It almost shines it in a light where it shows that this can help people in certain ways. and it also has a community to it as well. It's like most things in life have some negatives and some positives, and everybody has their own opinion, right? But for this, this shines it in a light that is true in terms of belonging to this story, and how it helps someone.
That's beautiful. Especially during the pandemic, I think a lot of people started connecting more and more via gaming. And I know before that, even education uses gaming now for all the different life lessons and skills you can have. And clearly there's a strong and healthy community behind it. So I'm glad. I don't know if this is the first project, but there should be a lot more around the benefits of gaming.
Yeah, I mean, certainly this one, it has a twist at the end, which you'll know, Joe, because you got to watch it. But it has a nice twist at the end, and it's true. So I hope the viewers get to watch it and they'll see exactly what I mean. And so yeah, I mean, I also created a song about gaming, which is also very true. A lot of gamers who have heard the song, like, oh, it's so relatable, which is great. It's what I wanted to achieve.
Perfect, perfect. Now we've talked about production itself. I don't want to not talk about the cast because it's a short film. There's a couple of emotional twists and turns in there,
Yeah.
but the performances are subtle and thoughtful and deep. And I was surprised how much I was feeling things in such a short period of time. Uh, how did you find your cast? Any favorite moment with your cast that really stands out with you?
I love that you felt that. That's great. We were really lucky because we just gelled and it made sense and it worked. And not a lot of movies have that luck, I guess you could say in a way. So I reached out to a theatre, a gent who owns a theatre school in Scotland, and I said I need a young girl for one of the leads. And he happened to also have a gent who teaches at the school, who would have been the perfect husband, and he'd also been in like big shows like Outlander and whatnot. So I thought, okay, he can act. I checked him out. He's good. And she was great. And so that all came from a gent called Reese Donnelly who helped me with the casting. And also, I reached out to a friend of mine who plays in one of the other parts, who I know is a great actor, Paul Donnelly, and he's been in Outlander and a bunch of stuff. So, again, it was just a community aspect. It's like, oh, who knows who, and how can I connect this and make this all work? And that's how it happened.
What I love about what you just said is we were talking about the plot and the story and the gaming community. Earlier, you were talking about the community behind the scenes of production. I feel like whether it's deliberate or not, you just found all these different communities to work together to highlight other communities, really a community effort in front of the scene, behind the scenes, in the story, all over the place.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
That's beautiful.
Community is key.
Very good. So now our audience knows we talk usually with chefs and winemakers and mixologists. We're talking about food and drink and travel. This topic is a little bit not what we usually talk about, but if you don't mind, can we talk about food and flavor for a minute with you? Is that okay?
Sure, sure.
All right, perfect. Now, clearly, you probably eat very healthy is my guess, but I could be wrong. But when you're indulgent, when you're looking for flavor, what's your favorite or what's a good guilty pleasure for you, or what's one of your favorite food and drink pairings?
Ooh, so okay, this is a great question. Being from Scotland, right? Everyone's, oh, have you tried haggis? Yeah, of course I tried haggis. But haggis is like most things in life. If it's made well and it's done right, it's really good. But it can also be the opposite. But I have to say, I do actually love haggis. But now I don't really eat meat so much, but they do a really good like vegetarian option these days. So when I'm home, especially around Christmas time, that would be my sort of go-to. But to pair with it, I'm going to be really sad here. I like I like to drink milk with it.
Hey,
Most people are like, yeah, this wine from this region. I'm like, nope, just milk. But but that's my go-to at home. So when I'm in LA, I actually, we like in LA, we have the best sushi, like most outstanding sushi restaurants. So sushi would be my go-to when I'm in LA, and definitely sake. Like I mean, it just goes hand in hand, really, doesn't it? Um,
absolutely.
so I guess it just depends where I am in the world.
Good answer. Now, just because I'm going to call you a haggis expert only because so many of us may have never had haggis. What's the taste profile of haggis? Well, what's it similar to? What's the aroma? What are we tasting when we take a bite?
Oh, before I forget,
Yeah.
so I just have to tell you this real quick. So there's another drink in Scotland, it's called Iron Brew, right? And sometimes I like to have Iron Brew with haggis. It sounds disgusting to a lot of people, but I like it. So it's just like Iron Brew and haggis. It's an acquired taste, but it's also undescribable, almost, I would say. People try, but it's really hard to describe. So haggis, I'm gonna give it a shot. Haggis, hmm, I might get shot for this, but say black pudding, right? Black pudding, but sometimes it can taste more like you can taste to put herbs into it. Um, so it's a little bit more flavorful. Kind of similar, but not. Is it probably like the best description I could give it? Um, and then Iron Brew, this is a really funny one. Can't really describe Iron Brew. Some people say it's like Fanta, but it's not. And then some people say it's like orange juice, but it's not.
But it sounds orange related, orange adjacent, maybe. Is it citrusy?
No, it,
Okay.
it's like the color of Fanta. That's like the only two common denominators. But but for me, like you can't really describe it. It's just you need to go try it now. I mean, now I've just like totally sold it.
I'm tempted. I got to go find an LA store that sells haggis and
I approve. Yeah, but I have to say, I tried haggis here once. It was god awful.
all right, then I'll wait.
But if
I'll
you
wait till my
find
next
a
trip to
good
Scotland.
haggis, I'll be like, oh, okay, I'll try it. But yeah, iron brew. See if you can find some iron brew here. And if you do, let me know.
I would definitely let you know. We're with Erin Gavin, who wrote, produced, and directed the short film Gaming for Love. Erin, what's the best way to follow you and to learn more about the short film, whether it's a website, social media, something else? What's the best way to follow your film festival journey and just what you're up to with you yourself?
Oh, I appreciate that. So, on most of the social medias, Erin Gavin Artist, because someone else stole my name. So, so it's Erin Gavin Artist. I think on like Twitter and Facebook, what's the other one? Instagram, the usual suspects. And TikTok, I've actually taken up TikTok, although I'm not very good at it. So do follow me, maybe help me. And Gaming for Love, it has its own pages on Facebook and Instagram. So I would love for you guys to follow the journey from my little mind to the film festivals and see where it goes next. And of course, love for people to check it out. It's actually on LA Shorts right now. And I believe it is available live on the website for those who obviously can't attend the premiere, which is the 22nd of July at 1 p.m., just in case you're in LA.
So the screening is in LA, but it sounds like you have plans to have many screenings, hopefully throughout the country, maybe the world.
Yes, for
Out.
sure.
And we're gonna find you on social media and follow you so that either as there are more screenings, we'll hear about it on your social media. Yeah?
Absolutely, absolutely. And then eventually, once we're done with all the festivals, they'll find it on one or two of the streamers, like hopefully like Hulu or Netflix, that kind of thing. That would be great.
Wonderful. Well, the short again is called Gaming for Love with Erin Gavin. So, Erin, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for the conversation. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you. Thank you for listening.